Had a stroke in the Bahamas and woke up to $55,000 in charges on my Bank of America credit card from the hospital.
Welcome back to Credit Reddit.
And if you're unfamiliar, Credit Reddit is a series where I scour the internet for the most interesting and sometimes heartbreaking stories in all of the credit card world. Now, this is a story that I actually read last night, the first couple lines, and I said, you know what, let's save it for Credit Reddit. It does involve credit cards, and it's one of the most insane stories I've ever heard involving credit cards, and then I actually had some thoughts on how this guy could have maybe prevented all of this with credit cards. Let's jump into the original post right here. So Mr. Bud311, he is our main protagonist in this story, and trust me, this is a hell of a story, so sit back and relax. And he posts this in r/legal advice, and the title is "I had a stroke in the Obamas." So the title of this story is "Had a stroke in the Bahamas and woke up to $55,000 in charges on my Bank of America credit card from the hospital. However, I never gave them my credit card." So immediately that's like a hook right there. Like what happened that you didn't give a credit card and you still had $55,000 worth of charges from having a stroke in the Bahamas? You just wake up and things happen. There's a tiger in your bathroom. So he says, "This should be fun, so strap in." Yeah, you know what? Actually, all right, we're strapped in. So he said, "I was in the Bahamas and I suffered a stroke unexpectedly. I am young, low 30s, and overall pretty active and healthy, so a stroke was the last thing that I would expect to happen at this time in my life. So when the stroke hit the left side of my body, it pretty much went limp. I was unable to speak, talk, walk, or even function. It is similar to being paralyzed and all around sucks, as one would imagine. The hotel thankfully called an ambulance which brought me to the hospital. Here's where the fun begins. My girlfriend, let's call her T, went to give them my health insurance card when I was admitted, which covers me internationally, but the hospital refused my insurance. And said that I don't have coverage and insisted on cash payment or they would not treat me. And when you're having a stroke, minutes count. So she gave them whatever they wanted to treat me, which is like so different from hospitals in America, right? Like, I don't know if this is just that particular hospital, but isn't that the main thing? Like, when you're going through medical school and they actually mention like save first, payment later, like, isn't that actually like the motto of all of these hospitals out there? Like, that's pretty insane right off the bat. Like, I could just see it right now, like the Caduceus with save first, pay later. It's almost like a weird affirm kind of thing. This is when T, his girlfriend, gave them my credit card. An important note is T is not an authorized card holder on my credit card account. She does not have her own card, nor is she an authorized signer or user on my account. She simply went into my wallet while I was unconscious and gave it to them. So I was not able to step in and deal with the situation. I woke up later to his girlfriend crying to his bedside. She was explaining to me the situation. Even though I was conscious, I was not able to process nor have the energy to respond. She was explaining that they would chase her down the hallway for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 at a time, as if she was buying a used car. It was surreal and makes me so mad, but she did not have any other options at the time, so she notified my parents, who showed up a day later. Wow, parents actually went all the way to the Bahamas. My father was raising hell about them not taking my insurance when he arrived, but it was not the time to argue and made arrangements to get me back to the States. His girlfriend is not an authorized user on his card account, but she was doing what she thought was best for me while not trying not to die. I think anyone else would have done the same. So long story short, I was transported via air ambulance, which is what I'm going to talk about in a second, which is something that technically possibly could have prevented all of this. Maybe, but we'll get into it. Back to the States, Pompano Beach, Florida, where my health insurance took over, and now that dust is settled, I still have $55,000 in charges on my credit card from said hospital in the Bahamas. Man, I've spoken to my insurance company, and they said the hospital should have taken the insurance when I was admitted, but the hospital prefers cash because the insurance companies will pay discounted rates, whereas cash out of pocket is subject to whatever the hospital charges. So basically, since she was not an authorized user and she signed all the credit card receipts, he attempted the chargeback, consider it claiming as fraud and whatnot that from this hospital, and pretty much Bank of America just kept stating over and over again that it's not fraud and that this is a legit transaction. It was signed for, paid for, and you received the services. One of the big things when you're actually disputing a charge on your credit card is, did you receive the services or not? That's the main thing. And if you can contest that you didn't receive services, then you can contest the fraud. And basically, if there's an interaction of goods or services, then there's not much that the bank can technically do. So that's, oh my God, that's absolutely horrible for this guy's situation. And he says, my blood boils that they chased a grieving, emotional girl, his girlfriend, for money, knowing what they were doing. They took complete advantage of the situation. This was a crazy story, and I thought it was something that us being in the credit card world could actually take advantage of and just kind of learn from in case we find ourselves in that exact situation. It's not necessarily all have to do with credit cards, but in part is it's kind of a big part of it is, what's happening to him right now. So let's just see what the people said first, and then I'll go into some interesting things that popped in my head when I first started reading this. This guy Q Langer had a few questions like, have you contacted the hospital and asked for the admin? Tell them your credit card was charged without your permission and you have health insurance. See if they will charge the insurance itself instead of the credit card. Always talk to higher ups. He said, see if the State Department can help. Contact them to see if they can contact in that nation that may be able to help. Also reach out to the government there as well. Wow. And then 3, how much information did you give to Bank of America? Was it several paragraphs of information or just a few sentences or a single sentence? Have you appealed it yet? The original poster, Bud, our protagonist, said that he gave a lot of paragraphs, a lot of information, but then Q Langer said, yeah, never give credit cards too much information. The more you give, the higher chance they will deny. All you needed to do is fill out a fraud form, did not authorize charges. You want to put the weight of proving their side on the hospital, not you. The problem is the credit card has more information than they need, so you appealing will probably go nowhere now. You need to have a lawyer write a letter and let them appeal for you. Get a lawyer ASAP, as there are time limits to chargebacks and you want to move as fast as possible. Huh. That's pretty interesting. So I wasn't aware of that. So if you are going to dispute your credit card, he suggests let the onus of proof be on the hospital, not you. I guess the more that you say, the more outs that the hospital can possibly have, and the more chances that it's not going to go in your favor. He mentions just fill out a quick fraud form, unauthorized purchase. I don't know what this was, and just leave it up to everybody else, the powers that be, and to lawyer up. So that's good advice. That's interesting and something I will take to the bank for sure for the future. Anybody so far have experience with this and want to chime in with your own experience? Definitely let me know below, because this is a crazy situation, man. This person, Noel, said, while you're calling that lawyer, also call United Healthcare, UHC, and get some claim forms mailed to you. Fill them out so you can get reimbursed at whatever rate the hospital and providers in Bahamas would have gotten paid at their contracted rate. Huh. This guy, Elder Godsmile, said, I am not a lawyer. Well, it's actually good, because he says he's not a serial killer either, so that's great. He's nothing. So, but my suspicion is that you're screwed. Unfortunately, no one here is going to be able to tell you for sure, as I don't think we have any users that are familiar with Bahamian law. Or is it Bohemian law? I think CJ told me it's Bohemian. You may have better luck with legal advice. UK, as it's a former crown colony, is now independent Commonwealth realm. However, I still don't like your chances. That said, I think the best suggestion would be contacting a legal professional in the Bahamas for a consultation. But in the contrary to that, this guy, AIDS, cancer, Ebola. Reddit, who are these people? Why are we listening to a guy named AIDS, cancer, Ebola on this? But it looks like he has some insight, which is the legal doctrine is known as implied consent. Because you were unconscious, the hospital had an ethical responsibility to treat you, just not before payment, with the assumption that if you were conscious, you would have given consent, also known as informed consent. This is why you're responsible for the bill. However, you may still wish to have legal U.S. counsel investigate this for you, since the price of the treatment is vastly different than what it is usual. A court may be able to compel Bank of America to charge back the money and allow you to pay through your insurance, or at least adjust the charge to what the market and reasonable price is. Implied consent does not mean they could simply charge you whatever they want. Should that fail or be a dead end, basically hire a Bohemian lawyer and basically sue the government, or the powers that be that handled all that. So pretty crazy story, right? That's wild. I don't want to ever find myself in that situation, but if I do, in my mind, coming from the credit card world, I thought of something that could possibly kind of alleviated all of the stress this guy had, as long as he knew about this beforehand, which is why I wanted to make this video, so you guys know beforehand that this is technically a possibility. Now, again, this is not something I've done personally, but it's on the credit cards themselves. I would hope we would be able to use this in an event like this. So remember the guy said that he was airlifted, right? He was airlifted from the Bahamas all the way to the US, and that was a certain amount of expenses, etc., that his insurance did cover. But of course, that's not the first thought in his mind. The first thought is, let's not die. So here's a credit card to save us money. So I guess now we know. I don't know. Could you even say, don't hand them a credit card if you're not an authorized person? Is it going to matter with the implied consent rule there? I don't know. But in my mind, I'm now advising my wife, since I talked about this a little bit earlier. I was like, should this happen, here's what we're going to do. These credit cards that we have do afford us some protections as far as money is concerned. So now what I was thinking was this. The Amex Platinum card, take a look at this. So this is the Premium Global Assist Hotline. So this is a 24/7 service that basically you can call the concierge service by having the Amex Platinum card, and they will basically get you anything done for the most part. So if you just go a little bit deeper in all this hotline, you can see it pretty much can help you with anything. Travel inquiries, like, setting up an itinerary, foreign exchange rates, where you can help you find locations to obtain foreign currency, vaccination, emergency translation or interpretation if you're in a country and you need like something in emergency, like maybe you have to go to the bathroom really bad, or I guess in this guy's story, a stroke. Then yes, you can call the global hotline and they will have somebody that speaks whatever language of the country that you're in, and to help you get to where you want to go, which is just amazing. Like, look at this, just an insane amount of things. Embassy and consulate referral, like, oh my god, emergency message relay, just insane amount of things that you can possibly do, bail bonds and stuff. But the main things that I noticed, and something that I think could technically have helped in this situation, which was the emergency medical transportation assistance. So this is basically in the event that a card member or another covered family member becomes injured or ill while traveling and is seeking medical treatment as a result. The Premium Global Assist Hotline medical department can assess the adequacy of local facilities to see, like, are they going to be a cash person or not? Or like a cash hospital, like these shisty ones? Or is it going to be a reputable one that can use your insurance? And the medical need for emergency medical transportation or evacuation, so that airlift, if you have to go from Bahamas to the United States, they're going to be handling all of that med evac stuff as well. And if you look, these such emergency medical transportation evacuations may be provided at no cost. Determines there is a medical need at the time of the incident for such transport, and such transport is advisable due to the inadequacy of local facilities. So in that case, I think would have probably helped him, like that. Maybe, because like we said, minutes count with a stroke. So I'm just putting it out there in case this could possibly help you. And here is all of the eligible requirements needed to actually be covered under this, free evacuation transportation. And it's not just helicopter evacs. I think it's also like train or ambulance, etc., etc. All of that also is encompassed in med evacuation, something like that. And it says if all of this is met, they'll provide the timing and means of evac, etc., and the medical equipment used, basically going to handle absolutely everything, you would hope. Even beyond that, they have some other interesting, little side things here, like, I don't even want this to ever happen, but I just read this and I said, Jesus Christ, but it said repatriation of mortal remains, so I guess you can transport the remains of somebody somewhere else, so we'll skip that though, but that's insane that that's even on here. Jesus. Also, something I found interesting, which is travel assistance post-evacuation. So if a card member or covered family member is evacuated to another medical service facility, and that evacuee's ticket has become invalid as a result of the evacuation, they will arrange, the hotline will arrange and pay for the one-way economy class transportation of the evacuee and or the covered family member to their principal residence within the United States once they're declared fit to fly. That's really cool. Man, I love that. I love that that's even a thing. I want to know someone who's actually done these things to know, like, is it fast? Or do you get on the phone and nobody knows anything? Like, what's the deal here? But at least it's written on here, so I'm taking it as gospel for now. Also, if you, like, lose a prescription, something that you need while traveling, and like, you will have a bad time otherwise, if you know what I'm saying, they'll actually assist you with finding a replacement for, the facilities and etc. They're not going to pay for that. You have to pay for that. But at least they're going to be handling it in case you're in just a foreign country. You have no idea where you are. Okay, go here for this, insulin or something like that. I don't know. Whatever is possibly available. And the main things to actually fall under this and be eligible is Premium Global Assist Hotline had to have been an existing benefit of the card account at the beginning of the trip. The card member is traveling and trip originated at the card member's U.S. billing address within the prior 90 days. So I guess if you're country hopping, you can't be doing that. You have to be where you're living right now, go to that country, come back, etc. And then they say the card member is 100 miles or more from the card member's American Express U.S. billing address. So, that's 100 miles is not that bad either. So I could just be, even if it's a state over and if I get into an accident, I'm in South Carolina, I see medevacs very, very often because there's a lot of distance between the roads, and I could just drive a few hours that way. I could be in, Charlotte, North Carolina, be over 100 miles away and get medically evac back here, completely for free, that's amazing. I love that. And then after all of this, we got an update from the original poster, and he says, update, United came through and paid 95% of the charges, but 100% of the hospital bill. They shorted me $4,600 because the hospital overcharged me, meaning the invoices add up to more than what they ran on my card. Oh my God. Hospital is a bunch of thieves. So now I have to see if the hospital will refund me overage or open a new dispute with B or A for the overage. Thank you for all the advice. Life lessons have added to the list. And that's a good way to go out on this. So a lot of scary stuff in this video. I just wanted to bring it to the forefront because I don't want anybody to fall into a situation where that even happens at all. But if it should happen, good to know that we have all these credit cards, and one of the main reasons to be in the credit card world, which is to make our lives considerably better. So hopefully all these things actually work. Hopefully we don't have to use them, but hopefully they do work in the event that we're in these kind of situations. But the only thing scarier than everything that we talked about in this video, that like the scariest thing out of all of this, is not actually watching all the other credit Reddits where we go through some more stories like this. So if you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe. I appreciate all you guys. And of course, here's the next credit Reddit video. Let's enjoy. Okay, let's have fun. Okay. Thank you guys so much.